Are you planning to visit Italy and you're wondering, what is the right etiquette at restaurants? Well, stay tuned, because today we're going to tell you all you need to know about the do's and don'ts at Italian restaurants.
Stay tuned.
Hi everyone, I'm Rick.
And I'm Andrea, and today we'll answer a question that a few of you asked on our previous videos. What is the etiquette at Italian restaurants?
Yeah, can be confusing.
But first, if you like travel-related videos, now is a great time to subscribe button down below so you'll never miss any future videos.
Yes, absolutely. Great advice.
Thank you.
So, let's begin with the do's and don'ts. Like, what are the do's and don'ts of Italy? Like, right at the beginning.
First of all, restaurants in Italy are the same like anywhere else in the world. There are family restaurants called trattorie and osterie, all the way up to the Michelin star restaurant, which are very classy and upscale.
Mm-hmm.
So, something that is perfectly acceptable at a family restaurant or a trattoria might be a little bit no-no at a higher-end restaurant. So, if you want to know more about the different types of Italian restaurants, there's a video up here that you can check it out.
Absolutely. And also, we've left a link in the description below for the best restaurants in Italy. Another big difference is where the restaurant is located. For example, if the restaurant is in a big city with a lot of tourists, chances are they'll be way more accustomed to requests that aren't very common in Italy. For example, if you wanted a cappuccino after dinner, these places won't mind, unlike the less touristy local restaurants. Remember that time that I ordered one at a local restaurant?
I do. They said no.
No.
Let's start by talking when it's appropriate to go to a restaurant. People in Italy eat lunch between 12:30 and 1:30 and dinner between 7:30 and 8:30, or even 9 o'clock down the south. If you go to a restaurant earlier than 12:30 or 7:30, chances are they might not even be open.
Mm-hmm.
Again, in more touristy areas like Rome, Venice, Florence, Milan, you might find restaurants that are open all afternoon. But usually those restaurants target tourists and they're not very local.
And the food is not that good.
No.
And most restaurants don't even have the multiple seatings that you might be accustomed to, because Italians love to stay at the table and socialize with their friends, sometimes for hours. Mm-hmm. For this reason, you're not going to get a bill until you ask. Italians would consider it rude to get the bill without being asked because they'll feel like the restaurant is trying to kick them out. Now, after the pandemic, some restaurants in busy areas started to have two seatings for dinner, one at 7:30 and one at, around 9:30. But if this is the case at restaurants, they would tell you in advance that you might need to vacate a table at a specific time. Again, it happens, but it's not so common.
No. Let's talk about the menu.
Mm-hmm.
In Italy, it is really rare to find a menu with photos. The only exceptions are touristy restaurants and chain restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the restaurants don't have photos on the menu at all. In fact, trattorias or family restaurants most of the time don't even have a menu at all. The waiter comes to the table and tells you what's available on that particular day. And usually it's very fresh because it's made that day.
Yeah, but even though photos don't have menus,
Photos don't have menus?
Even though menus don't have photos, if you ask your waiter to explain the dishes, they'll be more than happy to do so. Glad you're listening to me, by the way. By the way, we covered a sequence of a typical Italian menu in a previous video, and you can check it out here. But to summarize, you'll usually start your meal with the antipasto, which is your appetizer.
Then you can have the primo, that is usually your pasta dish. After the primo, you will have the secondo, which is your main course and your meat dish usually. The contorno is the side dish that comes with your main course.
Right.
Lastly, you have the dolce, that is the dessert. Again, you don't have to have all of 4 courses if you don't want to. But remember that they will be served in a sequence and they will not serve your primo after secondo or vice versa.
It won't happen.
No, won't happen.
No. Yeah, and it's also interesting to note that salads in Italy are considered a contorno, which means salads are served with your main course. I've tried ordering a salad as an appetizer, and it almost never works because Italians here, they serve salad with the main course, not with the pasta, not with anything else. Now, you might be wondering if it's okay to order 2 primi instead of a primo, or a secondo, or if it's okay to order 2 secondi instead of a pasta dish and a secondo. So what's the answer?
Yes, the answer is totally fine. You can order as 2 primi and no secondo, or an appetizer and a secondo, but no primo. It's perfectly fine. Now, we know that you're a little confused because we called primo, and then we said primi, and then secondo, and then we said secondi.
Yeah.
Let's clarify for you. Primo is the singular, and primi is the plural. This is the same for secondo is the singular, and secondi is plural.
Right.
This was also word for gelato. Gelato is singular, gelati is plural, and panino is singular, and panini is plural.
So wait a second, they've been saying panini in America like forever, and it's wrong.
Yeah, well, it's not wrong. It's just 2 panini, 1 panino.
Now, there is a question we get often, is it okay to share a dish? And the answer is, it depends. First, it depends on the type of restaurant. If you go to a trattoria or a regular restaurant, it's totally fine to share. In fact, in many places, they might serve food family style that's meant to share. In more rural areas, it's also quite common to order 2 or 3 kinds of pasta, family style, for everyone at the table to share. And if you go to a high-end restaurant or to a Michelin star restaurant, usually sharing is not the norm because the plates are so small to begin with, right?
One thing that Italians are very, very reluctant to share is pizza. Italians do not share pizza, at least.
According to him.
I don't. Italians are very proud of their food, especially in restaurants. So for this reason, a waiter will never ask you how your food is.
They just assume it's good.
It's good. The only exception would be if you leave most of your food on the plate. In this case, they would ask you if there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Italians love to stay at the table with friends and family for hours to talk and socialize. For this reason, waiters do not come to the table and ask you for questions.
So, or more food, more water, more drink, whatever.
Unless they're called.
Yeah.
To call the waiter, you just have to flag him and say, "Excuse me."
And again, in more touristy areas, the waiter might come around to you and ask how the food is, but or if there's anything else that you need, but it's just not the norm.
No.
So how do you order drinks at Italian restaurants?
As we mentioned several times before, Italians usually drink water and wine with their meals. The only exception, if with pizza and healthy food, they might have a beer or a soda, but all other cases, they usually have water and wine, that's it. One thing that is not common among Italians is to drink cocktails during their meals. So that means no Aperol Spritz with your dinner. At least Italians don't do that.
No.
For this reason, unless you're in a touristy area, they are not even able to make you a cocktail at restaurants. If you go to a local trattoria here in the middle of nowhere and you ask for a martini, they look at you like you're crazy.
Right, and it's very common to end the meal with a coffee or a digestif or both in Italy. Now, remember I mentioned the cappuccino earlier? It's a big no-no to order a cappuccino after noon. Okay, this is true. Italians have cappuccino for breakfast in the morning, and again, in a touristy area, ordering a cappuccino after lunch or dinner might be acceptable, but in less touristy areas, drinking a cappuccino in the afternoon is just considered weird. But it's totally acceptable to order a macchiato that is practically a tiny version of a cappuccino. One thing you should not order at any Italian restaurant or coffee shops is a latte, unless you want a glass of milk.
Yes, this is because latte in Italian means milk, and if you order a latte, you would get exactly that, a glass of milk. If you want the equivalent of a North American latte, you have to order a latte macchiato, which means a glass of warm milk with a splash of coffee.
Right, exactly. So we know that we talked about the bill, or il conto in Italian, in previous videos, but let's have a little refresher. First of all, in Italy, the bill is usually split among the number of people at the table, not by item. No restaurants would split the bill based on what everybody had. Don't even ask. Just because you had a beer and somebody else had a glass of water, it doesn't matter. It's 5 people at the table, the bill is split in 5, period. Second, tipping is not necessary but appreciated. But you already know this because you watched our video about tipping in Italy, and if you haven't, it's here, right up here.
Lastly, it's perfectly fine to pay by debit or credit card. If a restaurant tells you that you have to pay cash because the credit card terminal is not working, they are most likely lying. They must accept credit card.
Yeah, or you could just say, hey, I don't have any cash, I'll come back later.
Yeah, exactly. After all this talking, we want to reassure you, even if you break some rules, Italians are very easygoing people, and they don't want to get mad at you if you order a cappuccino in the afternoon.
They understand that you're a local and that you have, different habits. Bottom line, don't stress too much with the do's and don'ts of Italian restaurants. Just have fun and enjoy the amazing food.
So, we hope we cover all the do's and don'ts of Italian restaurant. As usual, if there's anything else that you want to know, leave a comment below. We love to hear from you and reply to your comments.
Absolutely. In the meantime, we'll see you in the next video. Ciao.
Ciao.